Welcome to Business Innovators Radio, featuring industry influencers and trendsetters sharing proven strategies to help you build a better life right now.
You are listening to the Brilliance Business Show, conversations with leading experts in business. I am your host, Mark Stephen Pooler. We have a wonderful guest today, Sarah Brigid Brown. Sarah is a bilingual life transition coach, and our topic is all around embracing our gifts and freeing ourselves from unhealthy family and society legacy. Sarah, welcome to the Brilliance Business Show.
Thanks, Mark, for that wonderful introduction and for having me here. It's such a pleasure to be able to talk about all of this with you.
I'm really looking forward to a conversation with you, Sarah. Before I get started, I just need to make a legal disclaimer that Sarah is not offering legal advice or legal assistance. So let's get started with the show. Sarah, can you share with our listeners a little bit about yourself and your business?
Yeah, sure. Well, as you said at the beginning, Mark, I'm a bilingual life transition coach. So the two languages are obviously English and the other one is French. This was a childhood dream of mine to actually be able to speak French like a French person and live in France. That's what I wanted to do when I was young. And so I've been living in France for the past 30 years now. A lot of people say, you know, what can you say about yourself? And the further I move along my path, the more I actually really identify with being a free spirit. And so I love the phrase, a free spirit with a good heart, because I really love everything that's connected to energy, emotions, nature, of course, communication, and all human connection. I think it's really, really, really important. And so then that leads me into my business, because the name that I've given to the business is So Free. So for me, that's obviously really connected to the free spirit side. But also, it's like you said, it's helping people to free themselves from all of this unhealthy legacy that we all carry, whether or not we were aware of it. So when people come to see me and I take them on this journey so that they can become free, I liken it to the caterpillar who then goes into its cocoon. And so the cocoon is like the coaching that they have with me. And then at the end, when they are ready to fly, they've obviously turned into this beautiful butterfly. And then for me, that represents the freedom and the transformation that they've experienced during the time with me.
I love that, Sarah. I would definitely say I'm a free spirit for sure. But all of the things that you are sharing, like you mentioned, they are things that we do carry around with us. So just share a little bit of detail of how you support your clients.
Okay, so the majority of my clients are sensitive and or empathic men and women who are in their 40s and 50s. And they're going through a life transition. So obviously a life transition can be many different things. So some of them are maybe going through a change in relationships, and that could obviously be in their personal life or at work. Some of them are actually wanting to transition out of a salaried job and to set up their own business. Some of them are empty nesters. That was my case, for example, a few years ago. And so that can often be the time as well where we sort of wake up and think, oh, my goodness, you know, is this my life? Is this maybe what I want to do with my life right now? So I help them to really understand where they're at. And during the journey with me, we work on their confidence. A lot of them come to me saying that they feel either unheard or unseen or misunderstood. So one of the first things I do with them is to actually give them a voice so that at least they feel heard and seen and understood by me. Then obviously I reflect that back to them, and we slowly but surely build up their confidence so then they can make the transition that they want to make.
And what stands out to me there, Sarah, is the relationship side of things, because I've had toxic relationships, and when relationships end, this can be a really traumatic time, and it can really knock you off course and out of alignment, can't it?
Definitely. I mean, well, not obviously, but I've had a few of those obviously in my time as well. And we can do certain things, I think, on our own. But for me, especially, there came a point where what I was doing on my own just wasn't enough to sort of get me through that traumatic time that you mentioned. So I think when we find ourselves struggling, when we find ourselves doubting as well, or just really, if we're not clear, I think that's the time to reach out to somebody else who can walk alongside you. Yes. And can really guide you.
Yes, I agree totally. Sometimes you just need someone to talk to, be listened to, which again, communication is what you do as well, which is really, really an important life skill as well. Do you recall a specific aha moment that led to the launch of your business?
There were quite a few, I think, but the one that probably really stands out for me is back in 2016, at the beginning of the year, in 2016. And I had gone on a 4-day training course in something called New Paradigm MDT. So to cut a very long story short for the listeners, New Paradigm MDT is basically saying that we are all love, and that if we work on our energies, which is something I do and I help people to do, if we work on our energy, then we are all capable of receiving unconditional love and therefore giving unconditional love. So during this very intense training course, one of the things that we did was to cut cords with our past. Yes. During meditation. And that really freed me, really freed me. And that was the moment, I think, when I thought I really want to help people to do the same thing, because it was so life-changing for me. And so a month later, I'd signed up to train to become a coach, and the rest is history, as we say.
I have actually done that work myself in a meditation. It was an NLP session I was having, but I did cut cords with the past. And I agree with you totally, Sarah, that when you're coming from a place of love yourself, love others. But sometimes as well, being totally honest, you do really have to focus on that, especially sometimes it's hard to give love to people, especially if there's some kind of negative feeling between you, if that makes sense, Sarah. But I do truly believe that when you're coming from a place of love, when you have gratitude, you attract more of that into your life. Do you agree with me?
That's definitely what happened. And I love that you've mentioned gratitude as well, Mark, because what actually really started me on my personal journey, so not so much of my business journey, but was practicing gratitude on a daily basis. And I started that in 2015 because I'd come to another life transition period, if you like, in my life. And I just looked around me and I was like, this isn't what I thought it would be, talking about my life. And so I found an online daily gratitude practice. And to be honest with you, at the time, I think that probably saved me. And it really helped me to reconnect to myself, but also to, like you've said, the love and just all of the abundance, I think, as well, that people can offer. And it was a really safe space. And that's something that I've perpetuated now in my business. And if it's okay, I just want to come back to what you said about when you said it's sometimes hard to give love to people. Yeah, I totally agree with you. And when I'm working with people who say that to me, I invite them to, first and foremost, give love to themselves. Because then that helps. That really helps. I don't know if you've done that yourself too, but I think it really helps.
Yes, and there's a poem as well that I often use. I think it is I'm sorry, please forgive me, thank you, I love you. And you can do that on an evening, and that helps to clear your mind as well. I think it's a prayer, actually, and I find that really effective. But I use gratitude every single day, and I've done that for years. And I always say to people, the more you focus on gratitude, more and more things come in your life to be grateful of. Sarah, I really want to know what really motivates you to jump out of bed every single day.
Okay. If it's in the summer, the nice weather.
Yes, great.
But joking aside, I think it's probably my faith in myself, but also in others. And this inner knowing that I can really make a difference by sharing and caring.
I love that. What would you say sets your business apart, Sarah, and what unique need are you filling for your clients?
You mentioned it earlier, actually, Mark. It's really interesting. We do seem to be connected because it's about the connections I make immediately with my clients. They all say that they feel that I'm fully present with them. And at the end of the first session that they have with me, they say that they've shared things that they've never shared with anyone else. So bear in mind that these people are at least, in their 40s, sometimes 50s. I have even had somebody in their 60s. So to get to that stage in life and to share things that you've never been able to share with anyone else, I feel so privileged to be part of that, if you like. And I really help them to see their invisible parts and connect the different elements of their story, because when we go through life and when we go through trauma, like you said before, we can get disconnected, and it's very, very difficult for us to reconnect parts of our stories that make us feel whole again. So that's also how I help them make these life transitions.
A key word, what you said there, Sarah, being present, presence, present. Now, I've done a lot of self-work, personal development, and I really focus on being present. I do visualization on an evening and imagine the future that I'm creating as though it's already happened. But I'm very focused on being present. And this can help you in business and in your personal lives, because even if you're doing sales, you have to always be present in the moment to get results. Being present is so important, because sometimes we tend to worry about our past, something that we can never change. And I was very much like that when I was at the start of my entrepreneurship journey. Now I never think about the bad past that I've had. The only time I go into my past now is to really appreciate how far I've travelled forwards. But I stay in the present moment and I visualise the future I want to attract. I just think being present is so important. Is that something you believe as well? Well, I know it is.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, the visualization is something I do for myself, but that's also part of the coaching, because I'm also an NLP, an EFT practitioner, an IET practitioner. We can talk about that maybe in a moment. But the power of visualization is so strong. And I think it's something that not a lot of people on the planet actually really are aware of and use, because, like you said, what's gone is gone, and the future is there for us to create. And so, being present every minute is how we actually create our future anyway. But I love the fact that you use visualization too, because as you've just said, it's such a powerful tool.
Yes, every single day, gratitude, visualization, and a little bit of meditation. Sarah, why do you feel your service is especially important in today's modern world?
I've found out that there's really a lack of support for people who are going through life transitions. And when we don't get the support that we need, this can really, really affect our physical and mental health. And a lot of people, myself included at the time, are not aware of the connection either between your mind and your body. And I was looking up some statistics actually just since the pandemic to see if that has changed. And unfortunately, it has. The statistics have really changed. So since the beginning of the pandemic, for example, there are twice as many people in the UK and 4 times as many in the USA who have reported depression. And this is just obviously one part of our mental health. But I think that if we are all aware that there is support out there, this is really why I want to carry on doing what I do, because I can support people. I've been through a lot of things myself as well, but I'm also qualified to support them. And one of the things that I do use, especially for depression, for example, is EFT, which means emotional freedom technique. Because again, if you look back at the statistics, there is a 45% decrease in depression that's been reported with people who use EFT for that.
And I know exactly how it feels when you're suffering with stress, anxiety, depression, but there is light at the end of the tunnel, and with the correct tools, it's not always necessary to have to take any kind of medication, medication. There are ways that you can do it using the power of your mind and using techniques like Sarah is sharing. Could you just share a few details on the kind of services and products you offer, Sarah?
Sure, yeah. So obviously EFT is part of that, and I can actually offer just EFT sessions face-to-face or online, or I actually include them as well in my coaching programs, because I have 2 one-to-one programs. One of them is called Heal from Your Past, and the other is Birth Your Best Self. And the aim of these 2 one-to-one coaching programs is to really help people to transform their lives, but also to find balance and harmony, because that's so, so important right now. So EFT, as I said, can be a standalone, or it can be part of those coaching packages that I offer. I also offer a lot for groups because, as I said at the very beginning, I love connection. I love human relationships. I love any type of relationship, to be honest. So getting people in a group and organizing and leading workshops, for example, to build their confidence, to talk about imposter syndrome, how they can set boundaries. For example, a lot of people come to me and say, I still don't know how to say no to certain people or to certain situations. So I find that working on this type of thing in a group setting really, really reinforces what I am sharing, because other people will also share their experiences. And again, that goes back to what I said to you before, you know, sharing and caring is so important for me. I also work on energy. So I help people balance their chakras. There's an initiation to that, because a lot of people really don't know what chakras are. They're the energy centers in our body. And there are very many, and I work on the main 7, and just introducing people to this notion of all of us is energy, and how we can work on our energy, how we can balance our energy. And part of that is also with living with the moon cycles, and a brilliant technique that I trained in last year, which is called integrated energy therapy. Now, this is maybe not very well known, but it's beautiful because it helps us work on the 4 different levels, which are the mental, emotional, physical, and spiritual levels. And, you know, it's sort of a complete package, if you like, because it not only works on our physical body, but it works on our aura as well. So as you can see, it's quite a holistic way of approaching coaching. But I think it's really important for us to have those 3 elements, you know, the mind, body, spirit.
The work that you're doing is really life-changing, Sarah. Now, I know you have all sorts of client success stories. Could you just pick one that really stands out to you?
Oh, I've had quite a few, as you can imagine. I think it's probably a lady called Sophie. And why I'm going to talk to you about Sophie is because when she came to me, she was in her early 60s. So I think it's to show you that it's never too late. Obviously, 60 isn't that old either. But when Sophie came to me, she was a victim of harassment at work, and she'd just been made redundant for more or less illegal reasons. And she was really unable to connect to herself, to express her feelings. She saw life through a very negative lens. I mean, when we had our first few sessions, she wasn't even able to look me in the eye. She was totally withdrawn, and you could actually see that physically in her body. And she just came to me because she said, "You're my last resort. You know, I've tried so many things, and somebody recommended me to you. So, you know, I hope that you can help me." And during our time together, she was really able to release all of the negative emotions that had been blocking her self-esteem and her self-confidence. And she started to open up more and more to herself and more to me as well. And by the end of our coaching together, she'd found another job that corresponded to what she really wanted out of life and to her values. Now, she didn't have many years left to work, but she found another job. She was able to feel confident enough to join several clubs. So she started to learn Italian. She joined a walking group. She took up photography again because that was something she loved doing when she was younger. And she's been able to make new friends. And also what I found is that once we'd gone through the one-to-one coaching, she wanted to carry on with me, but in a group setting. And to see her fully blossom and to really participate and share her experience in my group workshops, for me, is like, you know, just massive success. Because as I said to you before, she was just incapable, really, of talking about herself, her feelings, and what she was going through.
I love a testimonial, and that's a great, great one. And unfortunately, harassment does happen in the workplace, and a lot of times people are treated in an illegal way through the workplace. I have had it happen to me, and I know how much trauma that can bring, and also stress, anxiety, not being able to sleep at night. And so I just love that testimonial of how you have supported your client. How do clients typically hear about you, Sarah? And are there certain life moments that usually lead to them seeking you out?
Well, if we go back to Sophie, she was referred to me by somebody who I know. So this person is more of a business acquaintance, I would say. So a lot of my clients are actually referred to me, either through people who've already been coached by me on a one-to-one, or who have come to my workshops, or who simply follow me on social media as well, because I have a YouTube channel, for example. And on that channel, you can find some free coaching advice. You can find guided meditations and visualizations. I also have a few EFT sequences that you can also listen to. So people actually find me most of the time, you know, through referrals or social media. And to answer the second part of your question, it's often when they are wanting to either divorce or separate from their partner, or if they want to change job and career, when it's a sort of like a really big life change and they're starting to get the wobbles and they're really not sure about whether they should actually do it, to be honest. And so sometimes part of that can be gaining the clarity on what is motivating them in the first place to want this change. And then the other sort of category, if you like, are people who are similar to me. So they're either just setting up their coaching or therapy business, or they've been in business just for a few months or a few years and are not really sure about the next step to take in their business. So we would focus more on their values, for example, and how their values are aligned or not in their business. You mentioned earlier, the power of visualization for the future. So we would look at them visualizing the future for their business, and then how they can make those take those steps towards what they would like for the future.
And Sarah, you are a co-author in the international best-selling book, Evolving on Purpose. Tell us a little bit about this, please.
Oh, yeah. Well, that was such a wonderful synchronicity and a beautiful adventure, which, to be honest, is only just starting because the book came out about 10 days ago. So basically, I've always wanted to be a published author. And seeing this opportunity at the beginning of September this year to become, as you said, a co-author of this book was really like the nudge from the universe, if you like, for me to actually do that. And the prerequisite to writing the book was that we were coaches, healers, therapists, but that we had all gone through some either physical or mental illness or trauma or addiction, and had come out the other side, and then have used that experience to set up our business. So my chapter in the book talks about how I changed my life back in 2008, 2009, because I had a massive slip disc at the bottom of my spine, and that had actually paralyzed my right leg. So at the time I was a salaried worker, really not enjoying it, and decided to resign and set up as a solopreneur, which then led me to become a coach. And so it's sort of talking about, as I said, how all of that adversity that I had in my life really helped me to sort of pause, to reflect, and to think, what would I really love to do if, it was limitless, basically, if there were no barriers in life. And it helped me as well to really change my way of living, because I used to be a people pleaser. I always wanted to control everything, absolutely everything. You might not agree with this if you like, but I used to be afraid to speak up. I was very, very quiet and totally disconnected from who I really was. So I've turned all of that on its head. And so it was a beautiful experience to be able to A, share my story, but also B, to be part of the group of authors who all came together from around the world to share our stories, and basically to, I think, inspire people, but also to give them hope, to say, no matter what you go through, you can actually turn your life around and you can evolve on purpose.
Beautifully said, Sarah. Sarah, I have thoroughly enjoyed having a conversation with you today. Could you just share with our listeners, one, how they can get their hands on this international bestseller, Evolving on Purpose, and two, how they can connect with you if they would like to reach out regarding what you do?
Of course, Mark. So for the Evolving on Purpose book, it's available as an ebook or a Kindle right now on Amazon. So if you go onto your Amazon account and type in the words Evolving on Purpose, you will find it. And the advantage of it being obviously a Kindle is that you can access it immediately. The paperback will be out sometime in November, but we don't have the dates yet. And if you would like to know more about me, you can check out my website, which is www.so-free.life. And I mentioned my YouTube channel, which you are more than free to check out as well. And you will find that at So Free Coaching.
Sarah, thank you so much for coming on to the Brilliance Business Show. I've really enjoyed having a conversation with you.
Thank you so much, Mark. And it was a real pleasure to find that we've got even more in common than I thought.
Bless you. It's been my pleasure. You have been listening to the Brilliance Business Show, conversations with leading experts in business.
Thanks for listening to Business Innovators Radio. To hear all episodes featuring leading industry influencers and trendsetters, visit us online at businessinnovatorsradio.com today.